Imagine children suffering because of their own creators, their parents. Senate Bill 1086 must be passed due to the fact that children are struggling all over the country simply to stay alive. This bill will give children the opportunity to be protected and safe. Services will be provided for children whose parents are unable to support them. Children are being abused and the suffering must end. This bill will provide care for children when it seems as though all hope is lost. Children are extremely precious, and it is hard to imagine someone could do anything to hurt one of them on purpose. Reality is, it happens, and it has happened for a long time now. Child abuse in America has been an ongoing problem for many years. Children suffer every day from this serious issue, and it hasn't just recently started. Child abuse and neglect is a physical action that can result in mental behavioral problems. Physical abuse is often described as a situation in which a child sustains injury due to the willful acts of an adult. This is usually described loosely, where abuse is defined as the ill treatment of children. Physical abuse can be things such as biting, kicking, slapping, or hitting, and objects can come into play such as belts, sticks, rods, or even bats. In the past, rules and laws were not as strict when it came to physical abuse. In schools, homes, and other public areas, children were beat for all different reasons. Child abuse used to be a serious issue, although it seemed normal at the time, due to the fact that it was happening so often and everywhere. There was a lack of child services and a lack of prevention services that provided for children who needed it. Child neglect was also a harmful form of child abuse. For example, a child's nutrition needs were ignored, resulting in malnutrition. Physical neglect results when a child is not provided with adequate food, shelter, and clothing. Neglect also came in the form of inadequate medical care, lack of proper supervision, and lack of educational opportunities. Lastly, neglect also included lack of emotional care. This can be where a child experiences a lack of response to his or her crying and any other behavior where the child needs a response. Child abuse was happening all the time and everywhere, whether it was behind closed doors or not. There were barely any restrictions on child abuse in the past, so this made it more common. Child abuse in previous years was very severe, and this topic is one that should never be taken lightly. Senate Bill 1086 must be passed because it will save helpless children. This bill was introduced to make sure that children are getting the child care and services they need in order to be safe. Parents need to support their children and give them the life they deserve. If they are imposing abusive behavior on their children, there needs to be protective services taking advantage of this situation. This bill is passed to help children in need of care and a way to protect the children being abused. This bill will allow each state minimum flexibility in developing child care programs and policies that will help suit the needs of children and parents in that area. It will also assist states in providing high-quality care programs and services to parents trying to achieve independence from public assistance. There are not very many negative aspects about this bill because it is something that so many children need and deserve. This can be a negative thing due to the fact that not all decisions made by parents who are struggling are the right decisions for the children. Sometimes it is better to have an outside source making decisions that will be fair to the parents and the children. Research shows that there are multiple child services willing to help these children in need. However, there are not enough of them. children are still suffering everywhere due to abuse and other substantial factors. There needs to be child protective services that expand to multiple locations. It is simple. The more service, the less the child will suffer. Another point of the bill was to increase the number and percentage of low-income children in high-quality child care settings. These environments would be a positive atmosphere for the children and will help them overcome issues that they are facing at home. Unfortunately, there are people that say this bill should not be passed. There are parents of children that claim they are doing the right thing as parents. However, they are oblivious to the situation. There could be people stating that it is not the job of another person to be helping another person's child. It should be the responsibility of that parent to be responsible for that kid. People do not realize that these protection services are trying to only further benefit the welfare of the children. The care of a child needs to be in the hands of someone who will protect the child and not hurt them. It is hard to let someone else take over and care for a child that the parent should be taken care of, and people fail to hand their child over. Without these services, children will suffer, continue to be abused, and death could be the end result. It is important that parents care for their children, but if they can't, they need to realize that someone else can benefit their child more than they could. These protection services are essential and need to continue to expand. This bill must be passed to protect America's children and save our loved ones. It is important that Senate Bill 1086 be passed because innocent children are suffering all over the country and their pain is out of their control. This bill plays a major role in Americans' lives and can impact so many due to how many cases of child abuse there are. Children need support and protection because they are not getting the right amount of resources at home. Parents are sometimes unable to know the right decisions for themselves, and it is almost impossible for them to care for another human being as well. The guardians of the children should be able to nourish and care for their children, and protective services will be able to help if their parents cannot. Imagine a loved one starting out in the early stages of life, already going through severe pain and suffering. It is essential that this bill is passed so that there are more ways to seek help throughout the country for America's children. What will the future look like if so many children grow up depressed, with no care or love in their lives? The world could take a dark path, and there may be no way back. Child care is not only important, but necessary for now and for the future.